This is a little insight to PK's DK's. Jimmy Butler is out for the game. I needed him to get 18 points.
Oh no!
Oh,
that
that's
is
great,
tough.
man. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Washed Kings podcast, the show where a couple of cousins talk hoops, the NBA, and keep you updated on everything you need to know about your Denver Nuggets. I'm your host, Cam Kennedy, and me and the fellas are going to talk about some Nuggets playoff basketball tonight. We've been busy the last few nights and haven't been able to record a pod since last Monday, so I'm excited to get on tonight and talk some playoff basketball with the fellas. The Nuggets are tied 1-1 in the series. It's a Wednesday night around 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time. We're missing Evdog and K-Bear tonight, but that's all right because I have PK and super producer Matthew Hannon with me. Matty Ice, welcome, guys. And despite the Nuggets breaking our hearts in Game 2, how's everybody doing?
I'm doing good. It's playoff basketball. I couldn't be more happy, couldn't be more thrilled, couldn't be more nervous. All of the kind of playoff emotions kind of coming into one. But luckily we're in the playoffs and Nuggets are still good. So we just got to enjoy these moments with Jokic in his prime, and we're in the good old days, as I've said before.
Yeah, I'll second Pat. We got Jokic, and I'll get into this later in a point, but we still have Jokic, and there's still a shot. So I'm feeling okay. But again, we really got to step it up. But anyway.
Yeah, for sure. And we're going to break it all down today. But part of the reason that we didn't record on Monday is because Matt and I were at Game 2 and had a blast despite the end result. But Matt, that was a lot of fun. If you want to see our thoughts immediately after the game, I did post a few things on my TikTok. And then they're also going to be reposted by the Washed Kings TikTok as well. So if you want to see the full experience there, we'll link those both in the show notes on YouTube. But yeah, this is always the portion of the show where we talk about how we don't have any sponsors or nobody's sponsoring us, but we're a big fan of Dude Wipes, Podium Products, DraftKings, Princess Yum Yums, fish fillets from McDonald's, fidget spinners maybe in Patrick's case, especially those last two. And if anyone's looking for cheap and easy shout outs from the podcast that has like 25 followers.
Overnight Oats.
Yeah, Overnight Oats. Can't forget Overnight Oats. Good call. But yeah, hit us up.
Man, if I knew you were shouting out fidget spinners, I would have had mine available. I think it's in my nightstand.
I just always
right
assume that you have one in your pocket, but maybe next time.
I mean, usually it's right next to me, but now that I got two kittens, they'll find anything and they'll play with it.
Usually it's right next to me. Okay.
Yeah, I swear to God.
That's great.
I keep that thing strapped.
It's 2020. Pat, come on, man.
I love it. I love it, man. But all right, let's get on and let's talk about some of the things we're going to talk about today. In segment 1, we're going to talk about our biggest takeaway from the playoff series so far and talk about Jokic's struggles and what he needs to do to figure this out. In segment 2, we're going to go over Kawhi Leonard's crazy performance in Game 2 and how Denver needs to adjust defensively. And then to close out the show, Matt and I will briefly talk about what it was like to be at Game 2. And then we're going to talk about some of the key players that the Nuggets should look to or rely on for the rest of the series. But let's do a little bit of a quick layup line real quick just to mention it. Today it was announced the clutch player of the year. It was Jalen Brunson, and Jokic got runner-up. I think the award's kind of dumb, but I didn't know if you guys had any thoughts on it. I think Jokic should have won it still, even though I think the award's a little silly, but runner-up for him this year. No, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too worried about that one. I mean, he'll probably be runner-up and MVP, and he probably won't get any awards this year, but whatever.
All NBA first team.
I don't think he cares about that. Yeah, that's true.
I will say I think it goes to say that it's his performances, Jokic's performances have been so normalized that he is playing at an elite level, and he is a finalist for 2 or 3 really big awards this year. Not only that, but he's put up the numbers that everybody in Nuggets Nation, everybody around the NBA has been talking about in one of the best offensive seasons that we've seen ever. I mean, in our lifetime of following the NBA, and even after that. I mean, my dad's 70 and he's been an avid NBA fan, and he watched Jordan and Magic and Bird and guys that could really score. And I'm gonna throw wild one out there and Pete Maravich, but like,
Sure.
dude,
Yeah.
Pistol Pete.
he's playing at an elite level, and it's normalized. now
He won't be
because
rewarded for it
so-
per se this year, but he will be. It will be remembered, though. You're very right. So if he finishes runner up in the clutch player of the year, oh well. Bill Simmons voted for him to win that award, so that's all I care about. Sort of. I respect that guy's opinion a lot. So, any other quick things that we got?
He knows ball.
He knows ball. We got some other playoff games going on right now. Houston's up 42-29 early on the Golden State Warriors. OKC looks like a buzzsaw. The Lakers had a really good game with the Wolves last night. NFL draft is tomorrow. Or is it tomorrow? Or is it's here soon?
Yeah, it's tomorrow. It's tomorrow in Green Bay, a city that's not going to be able to handle it. But that's
Well,
Avalanche are fighting.
Avalanche are fighting hard
Yeah.
right now. They're tied 1-1.
they're up,
Pat's got the ball cup.
no, they're up 1-0.
Oh,
end of the first.
sorry, yeah. Oh, I mean in the series.
Game
In the
three
series, it's tied
at
1-1.
home.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep.
All right, fellas. Well, let's get on to it then. We'll go start segment 1. Just some big takeaways. What were your guys' biggest takeaways from the Nuggets Clippers series so far? Pat, we'll start with you, then we'll go to Matt, and then we'll go to me.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so far, obviously, it's tied 1-1 right now. As we know, this series wasn't going to be easy. It wasn't going to be a cakewalk. Both teams are very, very similar in the sense that when they're really good, they're the best team in the NBA, and then when they're really bad, they're one of the worst teams. And so I think what's really important in this series is each team taking advantage of the mistakes of the other. And we saw that game 1, the Nuggets were able to take advantage of some of the Clippers' mistakes late in the game, and then game 2, the Clippers did it to us, which resulted in another close loss. But like I said, I mean, both teams have that championship caliber, intensity, and execution. But it just comes down to, for each team, limiting turnovers, missed free throws, and executing in late game.
Yeah, I mean, I'll second Pat there with how close it's been. There was a statistic that we read on the train after the game that the series was tied in almost every facet in turnovers, in I think minutes played by star players, looking at Harden and Kawhi against Jokic and Murray, and then the only difference in the series is that it's a 1 point difference in how many points each team scored, and it's up 1 to the Clippers, and that's it. And it is such a deadlocked series, and I think that just goes to show, to your point, Pat, of, you know, if these teams are on, they're playing great, but I haven't seen great play from either of these teams. I've seen the Clippers play a lot better than they have this series. I've seen the Nuggets play a lot better than they have in the first 2 games of this series. I think they just both had very similar first 2 games, and we're seeing that. And unfortunately for the Nuggets, we go on the road into LA, where we have won, but it's a tough place to play, especially when you're even the series 1-1, and you had kind of a horrible end to the game, and kind of a bad game in general. So carrying that bad taste in your mouth to on the road and to a pretty hostile place to play is tough, and I think it's going to be a tough job for the Nuggets.
Yeah, I mean, I share a lot of the sentiments that you guys just shared for your biggest takeaways. Yeah, good points, Matt. The margin for error is extremely thin, so you said it right there. But yeah, the series.
Pat, keep going, man.
Pat's all. Pat's gone. We'll keep going.
My cat was playing with some piece of plastic. It was driving me nuts. That's why I was
no worries.
Over to my right.
You pulled a shaft.
That was so funny. I was watching that live.
But yeah, I share a lot of your guys' takes with that. It's going to be a bloodbath. We knew it wasn't going to be easy. We knew it wasn't going to be pretty. After game 1, I actually felt pretty good because I didn't think the Nuggets even played all that well. But they showed up when it mattered in the clutch and the crunch time, and that was the difference then. But then in game 2, the Nuggets just fell apart in that same exact scenario within the final 2 minutes. And Kawhi completely took over. We're going to talk about that more in segment 2. But yeah, that one stung. And let's be real. I think one of my biggest takeaways from the series is that Jokic has struggled a little bit so far. He's been outplayed. He hasn't been the best player in this series so far. I would say that's probably been Kawhi. And it feels like he's still trying to crack the code on this Clippers defense. I think, he's still probably filling this out a little bit. There were some brutal turnovers from him in game 2. The spacing was rough. The Clippers, they just have the Nuggets looking confused a lot right now, honestly. And I think that we're kind of seeing Jokic and this offense being in a little bit of a rut. But let's talk about Jokic specifically, too, in segment 1. I'll give you the stats. Statistically, he's averaging in these last 2 games 27.5 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists per game, shooting 50% from the field, 41.7% from 3, but just 62.5% from the line. I think that's definitely a big storyline right now. And he missed some really big free throws already in this series. And I honestly think Jokic probably needs to look to shoot even more. 41.7% from 3 is great. And I think he's only attempted 12 shots from beyond the arc so far in 2 games, which is only about 6 a game. But he's hitting them. And so I think he's got to use that space. And he's got time in the space to pull these shots. But because when he gets near the elbows and the blocks and everything, the Clippers are doubling him, tripling him. But the paint's just not going to be open like it normally is for Jokic. So I think he really needs to look to shoot some threes. But just when we're thinking about Jokic specifically, what do you guys want to see from him a little bit more? Do you think he's still kind of processing everything and trying to crack the code? Or what do you think about Jokic so far in the series?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with the Jokic stuff so far, but I just think that the Clippers have him a little bit flustered right now, and you don't usually see that. And I just think that the defensive matchup right now with him is kind of a little bit in his head, and he's kind of reacting. So I think going into game 3, he'll finally have a good adjustment. Another thing too, I think he's being a little bit too selfless. I need him to be a little bit more selfish down the stretch. And then the third thing for me for Jokic is just make those dang free throws, man. He's such a good player, but he's so bad in the clutch at the free throw line. Just unacceptable. And then last thing about Jokic, just the turnovers, man, especially late in the game, kind of killed us in that last one.
Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, we could beat a dead horse here, but it's the free throws are kind of egregious, honestly, and that goes for the whole Nugget squad. So I won't get into that too much. We have our opportunities, and free throws are one of those great opportunities to score points. They're free points. I think the team as a whole isn't shooting that well from the line. So we can pick our battles on that hill if we wanted to. But I have 2 things. I agree, Pat, with the selflessness down, especially down the stretch. I don't think he's passing guys open all that much like he usually does. I think we're seeing I think we're seeing a lot of swinging the ball around and just moving it to move the ball.
He's missed a couple guys.
There's not a lot of intent there. Yeah, he's missed a couple guys. And there was one really great incident of that where we got a turnover and Jokic has it at the top of the key and MPJ was open for
a while.
He ends up hitting.
He ends up getting it to him, but we were like, Mike.
Jokic looks right at him and looks off. And MPJ hasn't played that great this series, and I wonder if that kind of got into Jokic's head a little bit of, oh man, Mike has a wide open 3, but he might brick it. But if you're I don't know how you pass that off.
He eventually got it to him. I just think it was crazy that he took a second to do it.
He took a little while to do that for sure. I'll go my last point to this, and then we got to move on. But I think one of the biggest things is from Jokic is his defensive matchup with Zubac. I think has always gotten in his head. And he's still putting up a triple double. He's still scoring points. But you have to attack Zubac a little bit more, and Zubac doesn't foul all that much, and that's one of the things that we've talked about, and Jokic kind of feeds off of that, contact down inside. But they're playing really great defense on him, and if I were Jokic, I'd look to get open in those other ways. You're hitting threes, you can float out to the 3-point line a little bit more, or on a rotation. If Murray or MPJ is driving inside and they have nowhere to go, swing it out to Yoke and he'll find something. Just keep the ball moving, and that's something that I've been stressing on the Nuggets all year. Is you got to keep the ball moving.
Right.
You got to move around. You have to move off ball. And we look at Yoke because he's the star player, but I think he can be helped a lot by the other guys on the
For
team,
sure.
especially guys that can cut in MPJ and Christian Brown. And
Well said.
I think
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think you guys are all, both pulling on threads that I really think are important and good to point out. I will say, I think he's probably a little bit tired, which is crazy because we're only 2 games in, but he's averaging 44.5 minutes per game so far. I know there was an overtime in game 1, but he's doing everything for the team. He's setting the table. He's directing traffic. He's setting the screens. He's taking the shots. I would like to see him be a little bit more aggressive and take some threes. But this kind of workload also might explain maybe why he's missing some of these free throws too. Just being fatigued and everything. And he does struggle in the clutch with those free throws for whatever reason. But one thing I would like to see a little bit more, and Matt, you mentioned this too, but getting Jokic off ball a little bit and letting Jamal and some other ball handlers kind of take over and set things up sometimes because, there's options for Jokic there. Run some slip screens, have some cutting actions. He's quicker than Zubats, and that opens up some spot up looks for him too, where he can just catch and shoot. And then this would also give Jokic a breather without sitting him in some ways,
Yeah.
But just to put a pin in it, we know Jokic. He's one of the best bets in all of sport. We know he's going to figure this out. I don't really know if the Nuggets' full squad is ready to fix everything that's wrong with this team, but I've got a really good feeling that Jokic will solve this and find a way to be himself, whatever that looks like. So if you guys have any more closing thoughts on Jokic, that's kind of the last little parts that we're going to be talking about him in the show.
We still have Yoke.
We still got Yoke.
Yeah.
We still have Yoke.
I'm still confident in him.
Yes.
That's all I've got to say. That's all I have to say.
We can acknowledge the struggles, but also understand that he's going to be back, right? So, I don't think we have any podium reads or overnight oats, so I think we might just be going into segment 2. But something I definitely wanted to talk about a lot today was the performance that Kawhi Leonard put on, because it was just one of the best shot-making performances I've ever seen. He dropped 39 points, went 15 of 19 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3, and 5 of 5 from the line. It was Jordan-esque. It was Kobe Bean Bryant-esque. I mean, just hitting those tough shots, those fall-away mid-range jumpers with that flat, no-arc shot over and over again, and it finds the bottom of the net every time. And when Matt and I were there, I don't know if I was really realizing just how many shots he was making until halftime. We looked at the box score, and it was like 11 for 12 for him. But we were just like, he's missed 1 shot, and then he missed 4 the rest of the way, or 3 of the rest of the way. But for a guy that's won 2 Finals MVPs and 2 rings in his career, this was really one of his best playoff performances of his career, and that is saying something because he's had plenty of insane playoff games. But last night he was clearly, or a couple nights ago, he was clearly the best player on the floor, and unfortunately the Nuggets were on the receiving end of that. But any thoughts on Kawhi's performance just in general from like a basketball fan perspective, or just whatever? What do you guys got to say about what he did?
Yeah, from a basketball fan perspective, what a performance. I mean, you kind of love to see it from a future Hall of Famer, but from a Nuggets perspective, holy cow. I mean, he just
brutal.
If one person on that team's going to beat us, it's going to be Kawhi, and I mean, you got to kind of tip your cap to him. But I mean, the Nuggets just kind of had no consistent answer. It was mostly one-on-one coverage with minimal help, and especially with a good shooter like that, got to make an adjustment defensively. So I think going into game 3, I'm sure they're working on it with some walkthroughs at practice and stuff. But
I definitely
got it.
I just want to say I definitely have some notes on some of the defensive stuff that we'll get into here in a second with Kawhi, because I think there's a lot of interesting stuff there. But Matt, from just like a basketball fan perspective, you seeing it live, how did that feel?
Yeah, I second you, Cam, because that not really realizing what we were watching, I think was kind of it was a disservice as a basketball fan. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And when you're at the game and you're rooting for your team, it feels more like, oh my God, somebody freaking stop this guy. Like, What is going on?
Yeah.
And then, at halftime we looked at it, 11 for 12. And I think from halftime on, we just started watching Kawhi Leonard. I think we just, like, every time they had the ball, it was, where's Kawhi? And what is he going to do right now? and there were a couple shots. There was one I remember he shot from the elbow over Aaron Gordon, fade away,
I think that was late in the game.
Jordan-esque mid-range shot that it just found the bottom of the basket.
Yeah,
and we're just sitting there like,
there's nothing you can do.
How
with
do you
that.
guard that? AG hand in the face, falling away. Like, how do you can't guard that? And you know that's from a basketball fan perspective. We were watching a masterpiece, and you gotta. I was seeing a couple of Clippers fans online talk about, like they were happy that they got the win, but they were like, oh my God, we have a healthy Kawhi in the playoffs for the first time.
And since
2-3 years?
I think since the bubble, he hasn't finished a season healthy for them since the bubble. 5 years.
4 or 5. So it's wild to me to kind of see that and be like, I feel for Clippers fans a little bit. Like if you're watching your star player, I feel like we can kind of see this with Jamal a little
Sometimes.
bit. I don't want to compare those guys at all, but the injury-ridden situation of being like, oh my God, is this guy going to be healthy? And then you watch a masterpiece in the playoffs by your future Hall of Famer that has 2 rings and 2 Finals MVPs. You're like, yeah,
this is why we have him.
That's what you expect. Then that's why you have him. And that's also, to go back to your point, Cam, all night when we were sitting there watching the game, this is why a lot of people pick the Clippers to win.
Exactly.
Is because they have a healthy Kawhi. And then you have James Harden to clean up the crumbs
and be that secondary
left.
guy. And James Harden was the best player for the Clippers in game 1, which is crazy. Which brings me to my point. If we talk a little bit about the defensive stuff with Denver, James Harden was the best player for the Clippers in game 1, and I think Denver actually did a decent job on Kawhi in game 1 compared to game 2, obviously. But I think what the Clippers did, and I was reading some stuff on this, I was watching some videos on this, is they moved their weaker shooters to the wings, and then they put their stronger ones in the corner, which I think gives Kawhi like more of a release valve out of those doubles that we send him, which we gave him a lot of single coverage. But that was a smart adjustment from the Clippers because Kawhi he's not a great like facilitator or anything, but he can find, shooters that are open that are good. And by putting better shooters in the corner, that's going to be a better option than guys like Chris Dunn and stuff. But I think the fix for Denver, though, would have been sending earlier doubles, especially when Kawhi started to post up in the short corner or on the blocks, because like I mentioned, he's not like a fantastic passer out of those spots, but he could have that could have definitely made life a little bit harder on him. But when the Clippers are spreading us out like that, it's just hard to make the doubles like our doubles harder to commit to. But like we've sort of mentioned too, the X's and O's can take you only so far. You could break down every defensive scheme and every coverage and everything, but there's just no solving a guy like that when he's hitting on every single contested jumper. But man, Matt, you remember that?
I thought they
did. No, tell me.
I thought they did well. I thought they did. I thought the Nuggets did well on like the 2 or 3 possessions that they doubled Kawhi.
Yeah,
beyond the 3.
Make him decide.
And he had to decide. He had to go somewhere with the ball that wasn't the bottom of the basket.
Right.
So I thought Denver did great on that, but like in a understanding from a basketball perspective, and especially playing in these big games, is you can't double like that all the time. You can't just look at it and be like, oh, that worked really well, we're gonna send that every time, because then that opens up. I mean, you for all I care, you could have Zubats shooting a 15-footer, and bang. Like you start to get other guys open when you do that, and then that becomes more of a problem. So
right.
For as good of a team as, we obviously saw how good the Clippers can be offensively. Like I mentioned earlier, that's when we really got to take advantage of their mistakes, and we did a good job in the first half with a lot of good transition points, fast break points. We were playing Nuggets basketball in the first half, I felt like. And then late in the game, weren't able to capitalize on some of their offensive mistakes, which ultimately ended up being our downfall.
Yeah, and looking ahead with how the Nuggets can defend Kawhi, like we've said this a lot on the pod. No, you can't really stop Kawhi. Like he's still going to get his points. He's still going to get his buckets. But I would assume that the Clippers are going to keep targeting Jamal, which they did a lot in game 2, and just keep trying to get him switched on to Kawhi. And Denver's got to adjust to that, obviously. I think we need Aaron Gordon to fight through screens a little harder to stay on him. Maybe send those doubles early so that Aaron Gordon can kind of switch off and Jamal can recover. and even leave guys like Dunn or Derek Jones Jr. open for a little bit, even just for a couple seconds while we recover. Because I think if your best shot is Aaron Gordon on Kawhi, then you got to make sure that you get Aaron Gordon on Kawhi. But I would like to see some of those early doubles, but also mix in some late doubles and force someone else to beat us, because you can't just let a guy like Kawhi get to his spot every time that he wants to on the floor and get every switch that he wants, because once he gets Jamal on that island, I mean, he's just going to hit shots over him every time, because Jamal's just not big enough. And if he can do that, then 30 points is going to be on the table for Kawhi at least every night, and he's going to do it insanely efficiently too. So Denver's defense has a real problem here with Kawhi, and honestly, part of the solution is just hoping, honestly, that Kawhi misses some of these shots too, because you got to sort of pray. It's like, remember when Damian Lillard in 2021, Portland, Denver, it was a round 2 series. Remember Austin Rivers and Facu Campazzo are trying to defend him. He had that one game where he scored like 55 and he was making the most ridiculous shots. And then when he started to miss some of them, you're like, thank God, like praise the Lord. So I think that's similar here with you just got to hope that Kawhi misses more of these next time, because with the margins being this thin, you lose by 3. Kawhi misses just 4 shots. You win the game if he misses 2 more. So you got to pray that he misses some of those. But if Jokic can make some free throws.
Kind of reminded me. I like how you're alluding to the past a little bit. It also kind of reminds me of how who was it? CP3 a few years ago when we were playing Phoenix. Just his mid-range jump shot. I still have nightmares of that beating us. And I'm kind of starting to feel the same way and see some of the same things from Kawhi, which is just crazy.
Well, into the championship run, remember Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, when they tied the series at 2-2, we were worried, because it's like, oh my God, the series is tied. They have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. I think they both shot like over 75%, and it was all on like tough jumpers and stuff. They both combined for like over 80 points in those 2 games, and then we blew them out. But still, like, it was just like, man, what are you supposed to do? How do you stop these guys? And the other shoe finally dropped and they started to miss some shots. So hopefully that happens with Kawhi too, and you can win on some of these margins. But he was the best player on the floor. But you got to do everything you can to make it a little bit harder for him. Not that I hated exactly how we were defending him, but I thought there was too much single coverage and letting just Jamal letting them get the switches that they want. They did it too often. They did it too often. So I think that's probably the fix, if there even is any. But we'll just have to see how they adjust and handle it in Game 3, and hopefully Kawhi misses some shots. But any more thoughts on the Kawhi stuff or any of our defense?
Nope. Contain the man.
Contain. Don't let the claw get hot. He's a fun guy.
He's a future Hall of Famer.
Pat, you want to give us that laugh? in my nightmares tonight.
For real.
I love it.
Gotta make that into a
your dad.
I gotta make that.
I forgot.
Your dad asked me to try to do my best impression of that on Easter on Sunday, Pat, and I was like, well, Pat's got the better one, but I tried my best.
You should have phoned a friend.
I should have called you. He's crazy, bro. He's crazy. All right, guys, let's get to segment 3. We're about 30 minutes in. We're gonna wrap up with talking about some of the other players, some of the role players like Jamal, AG, MPJ, and the rest of the Nuggets supporting cast, and just our closing thoughts. But first, Matt, I want to do a little bit of our our coverage on Game 2 and being there. We had boots. The Washed Kings had boots on the ground at the game, so let's spend a few minutes talking about our experience there for a second. That was your first playoff game. That was my first one since 2019, so it's been a while. I want to hear your thoughts though first. What did you think?
Sure. I'll start from when we walked in. Honestly, the vibes were not great. Honestly, walking into the stadium,
somber.
I mean, I've been to regular season Nuggets games, and it was popping. They had the drum line outside. If you're from Denver and you've been to almost any downtown event, doesn't have to be a sporting event, they have them for concerts and all that. They're getting the crowd pumped up. It's it's an electric atmosphere when you go to a Nuggets game in the regular season. And I don't know what kind of circumstances deemed this. There was a lot of nervous energy, and I think that comes from the fact of, I think Nuggets fans know what we have. We know this team isn't. the stakes are high, and but we know this team isn't the championship team of 2023. We still have Yoke, we still have the core players, but it's it was one of those things walking in that was just a little weird. Once we got inside, I think that energy turned, and especially when the pregame started going off, everybody got pretty rowdy, and arena was loud and popping.
It was the rally
It
towels,
was-
Matt.
Yeah, the rally towels.
We started to believe.
sure.
I got mine from
Yeah,
2024,
There you
and
go.
it's behind me.
There.
And I got my one from 2023, bringing the
pull out
vibes,
the-
championship vibes. I also
Pull out the old
There
one.
we go.
who's got an 09?
They threw
Who's
some.
got no?
I think my
They probably threw him out years ago if they had one. That's so
Yeah.
sick, dude.
No,
probably.
I think it was. I think it was a good atmosphere once we got in, but a little bit of nervous energy for sure.
Yeah.
But playoff game, once we got inside, everybody knew what was going on. We also had a lot of guys because I know Altitude and a lot of Nuggets and Avs fans are going crazy about this, but both game 2 and both game 2s
The Avs, yeah.
for the Avs and the Nuggets series were on the same night, a half hour apart. I think the Avs started at 7:30, the Nuggets started at 8.
Yep.
So we had a couple guys in the rows below us watching the Avs game, and so
Yeah.
I think there was a good energy for that as well, even though they ended up losing an OT. But all around, I think good vibes once we got inside for sure.
Yeah, I don't have that much more to add. I think it was really cool to even just be in a playoff atmosphere. Like you said, it was quiet. It was a little strange walking in. People did have this nervous, anxious energy about them, and I made a whole video about our experience going there. If you want to check it out on TikTok. But yeah, it's true. But once the game started, you could tell people were starting to feel it, starting to feel more excited. And there was a time in that game where it really felt like the Nuggets were going to pull it off again. So that's when everybody was at the height of their excitement, maybe even anxious feelings. But then they threw it away, and everyone was kind of like, kind of shocked. And
I remember the last buzzer went off, and Jokic kind of hoisted up that 3.
yeah,
and you knew it as soon from where we were
You could tell
sitting.
it
We
wasn't
could
going
see
in.
we were in line with where Jokic was
Yeah.
shooting the ball, and out of the hand, it was so far
and
right,
short
and I was
and
like,
low.
it was a slow motion moment of
Yeah.
oh my god, and then it was eerily quiet after that. There were a lot of groans, but it was quiet. It was like there was nobody around us was talking. I couldn't hear anybody shouting or screaming. It was just
Nobody
like
said
oh my
anything
god,
on the walk, really.
what happened? Yeah,
Yeah.
there were people screaming on the walk. Some explicitives that I won't repeat.
Yeah.
But it was wild at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
cool to go to nonetheless. It was a really fun experience. We had a good time with it, and hopefully we'll remember that as the game that Kawhi went crazy, but the Nuggets still won the series.
Yeah.
So that's all we can hope for.
Tell you what, though, I know I wasn't there, but I was able to watch the game from home. Obviously, it didn't start until 10:15 Eastern time. Can't believe I stayed up for that disappointment at the end.
Brutal.
However, it was worth it. Wasn't able to watch game 1 or listen to game 1 because I was on the golf course during the day.
Yeah,
So it was really cool to just hear how loud Ball Arena is on the TV versus watching during the season and then in the playoffs.
it was popping on the big plays.
incredible.
It was popping on the big threes and everything. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
And
Yeah,
it's it just goes to they asked Anthony
Oh,
Edwards, how what's it like playing in LA? He's like, oh, it's easy. I played in
Yeah.
Denver. And I think,
that's a
just watching
huge
the game
respect.
overnight.
That's,
Yeah.
That's
huge
big respect.
testament. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
big respect for sure. I'll give Ant.
I feel like
flowers
Ant's
on that
destined
one.
to be a Nugget someday.
I was going to say, he wants to be a Nugget so bad.
Speaking of people that want to be Nuggets so bad, Bruce Brown was there, and
Yes.
this was awesome.
Let's talk about
Yeah, let's talk about Bruce Brown for a second because this was really, really cool. He was sitting courtside. He's wearing a cowboy hat. He's got the belt buckle and boots on. Classic Bruce Brown.
Yep.
And
Classic.
we hear after that he went into the Nuggets locker room after the loss. And he tweeted during the game, "I miss playoff basketball." And then we also heard I saw a report, I don't know if this is true or not, but he was like I'm a free agent this year. I'd love to talk to him or whatever. Like he was hinting at that he would come back, and I'm like, absolutely yes, I would take, bro. He got his money. He got paid $40+ million for 2 years. He got his bag. Now come back and win, but you're going to need to take a cheap contract. I will say you probably can't expect too much money unless we make some moves that free up some space for him. But come back and take a vet minimum and come win with us because you loved being here. So Bruce Brown, everybody was going, Bruce.
Brucey being in the building. Yeah, I bet just him being back in the building too, and like I'm sure he heard like the fans behind him like, "Hey, we want you back, like need you back." I'm sure he heard all that and all the buzz around him. And he knows that Denver loves him. There's no hard feelings once he left. He wants to be back in Denver. Let's get him back.
Yeah. I second that. And I think the Nuggets need a guy like that. I was thinking to myself and actually in the car I got Panda Express. Shout out Panda Express.
Fat ass.
Before we started the pod. I was thinking to myself in the car, like the Nuggets need a veteran guy like a KCP or a Bruce Brown.
Because Russ has filled that a little bit this year. But Bruce
filled it a little bit. You had two guys, but you had two guys.
So if you have both
guys, if you have both, if you have
that's a great point.
And a compliment of Bruce Brown coming back to kind of give you a little bit more edge.
Yeah.
You've got
Matt, you're cooking right now.
I just think if that's the thing that we're missing,
little salt.
He's cooking.
If that's the one thing the Nuggets are missing, I think it's that second guy, that second,
and it adds depth. It adds depth, and they need it right now. They need it right now. Listen. I love Jalen Pickett, but they're going to Jalen Pickett, and maybe we should. Well, we're going to talk about the key players now, but we'll talk about P-Watt as well. But is that the cat up there? I see it.
Yeah, she's not being ladylike.
Oh,
herself.
Come on!
Millie,
During
you're
the
on
pod.
camera.
Crazy.
Really?
All right, we'll get into some of the role players now, and some of the supporting cast other than Jokic because we spent a lot of time on Jokic. We got there's Rue. Rue's on the pod for YouTube listeners. That's Matt's dog.
Rue, this is my dog. We've been trying to get her on the pod for a while.
For Spotify and Apple Pod, yeah.
Little cameo
from
right
Rue,
here.
perfect. Is Rue's favorite player Jamal Murray? Because that's who we're about to talk about.
Rue, who's your favorite player? She follows her mom. She likes MPJ
or Zeke Naji.
She's an MPJ.
Sure.
Or Zeke.
All right.
Big need.
All right, guys. So Jamal Murray. I think just we're going to talk about these guys and just how we think they've done so far and what we want to see from them. But I think Jamal's been good so far. I think he's got to do a little bit more, though. I think he's got to take some pressure off of Jokic because we talked a little bit about how gassed Jokic is and how much he has to do on the offensive end. But I think if Jamal punishes the Clippers a little bit more when they leave him open or go light on him, I think it's going to free up Jokic and make his life a lot easier. Now, to be fair, Murray was really sick in Game 2. We heard about that. I didn't know that until after the game, but he was really sick. So I'm hoping a healthier version of him moving forward can take some of that load, off of Jokic, and that he can be, the guy that we've seen him be in the playoffs. But he's averaging 22 points, 6.5 assists, shooting 43.2% from 2, and a strong 46.7% from 3. He's 7 of 15 from deep. I want to see some of those numbers increase. And I'd like to see him turn up that volume a little bit as he gets a little bit more comfortable in this series and feels a little bit better. We'll spend like a minute or two on each guy, but Jamal Murray, thoughts?
I just think he needs to take over late. He's usually a guy who's good in either the first half or the second half. He's just got to take over in both halves. You alluded to a little bit. They're forcing other guys to beat us, and so when they're doubling Jokic, playing Jokic physical, Jamal's got to be that guy.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Pat. Closing late. I also think that Murray needs to be the primary ball handler in these situations. It makes sense that you say it, Cam, that he was sick for Game 2. That was a little interesting because we saw him have hands on the knees, hands on the hips early in the first quarter. And I think I don't want to look into that anymore than it needs to be. We don't need to raise any alarms about that. I don't think at all.
He played largely really well with being sick.
Really well.
So
he did.
I think something to go back to is that I think his rest was needed to, help fix whatever was going on with his hamstring in the late season and then kind of move on from there. So I think he played great. I think we're going to see a better version of Jamal like we always do in the playoffs. That graph of playoff players compared to where they were in the regular season, and
he's the biggest
Jamal's
playoff riser.
He's way up here. I will see more of that. I think he's just built that way, and I think he'll be better as he goes along.
It's actually encouraging to me that he was feeling sick and he still played that well, because I feel like the hamstring thing is okay. Like, I think he's all right. Now that he's going to maybe feel a little bit healthier, I think he can really take over. But let's go to Aaron Gordon. He had a great game 1, 25 points, and was 8 of 10 from the free throw line, which was huge in that game. I really like his free throw shooting so far this whole season, but this postseason he's knocking him down. That said, I am a little bit nervous about the calf injury that popped up a little bit again, and just not as impactful in game 2. He didn't look quite as aggressive on the boards as we usually see him, or as much as he was in game 1, but I think he'll be okay. But that's just something to watch for. I still think Aaron Gordon's going to be okay. AG, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he pretty much summed up my notes. Really good game 1. Really liked what I've seen from him from the free throw line. Just staying aggressive. Missed a big dunk late, but I mean, it's very rare of him to miss that. It's about all I got on Aaron Gordon. Other than the injury, I'm sure he's been these 2 off days for him are probably really crucial. Taking care of that, Matt. You know all about the body and rest and stuff. So I think it's really, really, really crucial. And good timing for good 2 off days.
Yeah, I think that understanding those 2 games or those 2 days of rest are crucial, and the access that these guys have to recovery methods is insane. I mean, treat them like it. You're paying them millions and millions of dollars. Get them back in the dunker spot. That's all I've got. I mean, you live it. Don't want to say you live and die by that, but that's where you make your money. That's where you make your money. If you're the Nuggets, that's where you cash in on those broken plays. That's where you cash in on Jokic getting doubled in the paint. He knows. He knows to look. Jokic knows to look for AG in the dunker spot when he's getting doubled. We've seen it all year. We've seen it the entire time that they've played together. We've seen some of Jokic's most incredible passes when AG is in the dunker spot. So getting him healthy, great, fantastic. I think he will be. I'm not too worried about it.
I think he'll be all right.
He kind of took an off. I think he kind of took an off night.
Kind of.
Without, quote unquote, without taking an off night in game 2. 2 days of rest, and you go back at it away where you need big plays. And I don't think he's rattled at all by that missed dunk, but I want him to get one early. I want him to get a dunk early to be like, yeah, okay, I'm back. Like, let's go.
I think,
but get him back in the dunker
sure,
spot.
yeah, and I think that's a good point, Matt. And I think a common theme we're kind of reaching with what the Nuggets' problems have been so far and how effective the Clippers have been defensively is that they are doing a lot of stuff that is clogging up the spacing. It's clogging up the paint. Guys aren't really where they should be, and they're defending the 3 well as well, even though we shot pretty well from 3 last game. But I think if Jamal opens up the floor a little bit and is a little bit more aggressive and Jokic is shooting more threes, I think that will open up spaces for Aaron Gordon to be down in the post and in that dunker spot a little bit more. I would also love to get Aaron Gordon some more mismatches on the post and let him go to work, because I think AG as a scorer is also going to be crucial. So yeah, we'll keep going here. Michael Porter Jr., I think it's the word is that he's going to play. He hurt himself on that shoulder injury after that awful turnover, but Adelman said today that he thinks he's going to play. I actually liked his bounce back in game 2 despite that really ugly turnover. 15 points, 15 boards was big. He was definitely more engaged. Still, we have to find ways to get him more 3-point looks, because he's only taken 6 threes this series. He's made 3 of them. That's 50%, which is good. But like I said with the spacing, we need more spacing. and having Michael Porter Jr. a little bit more open and getting more threes up is going to hurt the Clippers. So we need to create more catch and shoot opportunities for him. But any quick Michael Porter Jr. thoughts?
I agree. I thought it was a good bounce back going into game 2. Only shot 4 3-pointers in game 2. And like you said, with the spacing, if guys can space out, I think his numbers will go up there. He's just got to keep that confidence, man. We've talked about that before. Sounds like he kind of felt like he was to blame for a late game turnover. Sounded like he was apologizing to some guys in the locker room.
I like that accountability.
I mean, I do too, but I mean, you can't point to one play, one
shows he cares though.
But
so many more.
Yeah,
he cares.
I mean, maybe an early prediction. I mean, he's going to come out for 25.
I like it.
Game. He need it. That'll be the
difference.
I
hope he plays.
Man. And
I hope he plays.
I
hope the shoulder's not too banged up.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
Yeah. I like that. To kind of go off of what you guys said, I like his rebounds. He's shooting 50%, and I like the bounce back. Him, and I'll touch on this with CB as well. Cut to the basket, help the guys out a little bit more.
Right.
We've seen you do it. We've seen
which
it
I think he did better in game 2.
I agree. And he can be. He's shown this year that he's versatile in other spots, especially not only the 3-point line, but
the rim.
I think he plays his best when he can get to the rim, because then that leaves him open for those corner threes. Those
it opens everything else up, right?
3-quarter threes. Like he's he's open when he can drive to the basket and get those open looks.
For sure.
So be a little bit more versatile for him. I hope that shoulder's okay in these 2 games or 2 days of 2 days of rest should be good for those guys.
Sure. We're gonna go a little bit quicker because we're reaching our time, but we'll go to Christian Braun next. I don't know if this is really a Christian Braun series. I'll just say that he's not making an impact that well on either side of the ball. Harden doesn't seem to feel him at all defensively and offensively. He's been quiet. He had 11 points in game 1, but just 5 in game 2. He did hit that huge shot in game 1, but overall he's 1 for 6 from 3 in the series, and I think game 2 is a little bit rough for him. So I don't know. Christian Braun he may not be his series. I think Russ should have closed for him in game 2, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he's just got to play the way he's been playing all season. I mean, he was a candidate for most improved player of the year, and he's really stepped it up. And he's just got to keep that
confident, stay ready. Yeah.
And I mean, his matchup on defense with Harden, I mean, that's no easy task at all. But just keep being a dog, keep being yourself.
Yeah, I'd second all that. Match up well on defense. Do whatever you can against Harden. It's
make him feel you a little.
Stop it. But make him feel you a little bit. And I think CB can do that. I think he can be a pest in that way. So I think he needs to get back to that.
Totally.
And confidence is a big part of that. I think if CB gets one steal, even if it's on a pass into to Harden, great. Fantastic. There goes and
steal and dunk.
He gets on a fast break and dunk. There we go. We've got CB back in the game. I don't think he's been gone at all. I think he's just been a quiet sort of contributor. And I'll say this for the rest of the guys: be ready. He's got to be ready when his name's called. And we saw that with that one big 3. Didn't pull it off in the second 3 that would have iced the game for or
tied
actually sent it into overtime and tied it. But I stay ready.
This might just that's the problem with what the playoffs bring you in terms of what you can do and take what things get taken away. The Nuggets can't get in transition as much because things slow down. There's a lot more half court offense, and CB is at his best in transition. So it's just not. I don't know. It could be better in other series, but we'll just have to see. Russell Westbrook, one of the biggest reasons that the Nuggets won Game 1, even if it was chaotic at times. I thought he played really well in Game 2. He had 14 points, was 5 of 11 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3, and that's 41.7% from deep so far this series. It doesn't always feel great when he shoots it, but he's making those corner threes, and he's done that well all season as well. So I like what I see with Russ. He feels like a game changer, even though it's chaotic. I feel like they might need some of that in this series to win. You got to pull it off, and hopefully you get the good sides of Russ. But any quick thoughts on Russ?
Yeah, I mean, we know what his style plays, just aggressive. But I mean, you just got to have controlled aggressive. Know when to turn it on. Know when you're good. Don't do too much. Know your role. That's about all I got from Russ. It was really good to see him hit 2 big corner threes kind of back to back. kind of fired me up. Like you said, he kind of holds your breath for half a second when he shoots the ball, but at this
He's
point,
shooting them well right now.
I'm confident in him.
Yeah,
why not? Yeah, why not?
Yeah. I keep being a dog, especially on defense. We need those big plays. The
That's
inbounds play at the end of
impact.
game one was fantastic. That was the biggest impact you have, and that iced the game right for you right there. That won the game. Just keep doing that. Ask no more of yourself, first of all. Like you said, Pat, you got to be controlled. And I think that goes back to understanding your role of what you need to do in that situation. Russ knew exactly what he needed to do at the end of game one to ice that thing, and he did it. And he didn't go beyond himself. Like we've seen in countless other games of him trying to do too much. And I think in the playoffs, he's especially in game one and game two, we saw that too. He didn't get the chance to close the game, but stay within yourself. And I think he's done a good job of showing us that in the last two games with the minutes that he's had.
It's crazy that we're here, but we might need to rely on Russ a little bit. Not a great feeling, but if it works, that'd be great. Peyton Watson, I think he's been solid in his minutes. I think he needs to just keep being a spark plug off the bench, create deflections, get switched on to Kawhi and do your best. I think he might be, in position to play a little bit more too. I wouldn't mind seeing him in a little bit of a long, like he's averaged 14 minutes so far. I wouldn't mind seeing him play 18 minutes next game, see if that improves anything or maybe helps you out a little bit. We'll group him with Pickett and DJ too. Just those guys have played really small stints so far. DJ played a little bit yesterday or 2 days ago. Pickett, I think, fine in the couple stints that he's played so far. But maybe P-Watt, maybe wanting to see him play a little bit more. That's all I would really have to say. The other guys don't have that much notes on.
I was about to say, probably going to expect to see P-Watt out there a little bit more just because of his impact defensively. And obviously we need some help. Obviously trying to guard Kawhi and Harden, wherever. And then some of the other guys wouldn't hurt to get them a little bit more minutes, especially if we say we're up 10 or whatever, and you sit Jokic maybe a little bit, God forbid, you lose that lead. But just keep your head above water when those guys are in. Yeah.
P-Watt, again, know your role and, finish what you can. Especially P-Watt, don't go beyond yourself. We're not at, the team's not asking. You shouldn't ask that of yourself to do anything more than what you've been doing. I agree with the defensive side. I think he can be a little bit more of a pest like he has been, and especially him and CB. I would love to see those two guys go with a double up on Harden and Kawhi, because they're the two quickest guys that you have out there, and especially on defense. If you need to switch one of those guys out on one of those guys, they're going to be able to recover, especially P-Watt.
Yep.
P-Watt's probably one of the best recovering, defenders that we have on our team.
Maybe in the league.
And maybe in the league. So, if you have to double on Kawhi and P-Watt's guy, kind of floats out there, then you trust him to get back.
Right.
So use him like that. Use his young legs and versatility, and
P-Watt's one of our best examples. Actually, probably our best example of rim protection. So it's not like he plays in the blocks or at the rim every time, but when he does, he can create deflections and block shots like we've seen him do before. We're almost about done here. Nuggets are heading to LA. Quick note on playing on the road in LA. They have the wall guys, and if the Nuggets can't make free throws at home, I'm a little nervous about how they do against that fan wall that the Clippers have. Statistically, teams shoot worse when they play the Clippers when they're shooting on that side of the court. So that'll be an interesting thing. Maybe they'll defy odds and they'll just make all their free throws on that side. That would be the most Nuggets thing ever.
The Nuggets would be that team.
Make it hard and on at home and then easy on the road for some reason. I really wanted to ask this real quick. Who's a random Clipper that's pissing you off right now? Because I'll answer this first. Actually, right now for me it's Nicholas Batum. He's just one of those guys, man. That quick release, and he catches it up here, and they're passing it to him perfectly too. He's catching it here. It's up in 0.1 second. He's shooting 45.5% from the field, which feels like it's 100. He's 5 of 11 from 3 so far, but that's the kind of stuff that wins playoff series for teams, is when a guy can come off the bench and shoot 45% from 3 and really kind of change the game in some of those ways. So Nicholas Batum is a guy that's pissing me off right now.
Yeah, mine would be Norman Powell.
Yeah.
I've always kind of been bothered by him, but I never had like a reason to. He just kind of one of those players that you're like, I just don't like
Him
this
and
guy.
Murray.
But I mean, I think that the whole scuffle with Murray just gave me a reason. I'm like, yo,
Screw that
go.
guy.
Now
I hate that guy.
Yeah, exactly. But I know we didn't get into that as much. But yeah, that's a great question, Cam. I like that.
Well, since Cam took mine, I was gonna say Nicholas Batum as well, because just that it's just unreal.
Yeah.
And at the worst times, it feels like he just shoots. I'm gonna go off the hook here and say Zubac. I think
it's good.
And it's not just him. He's a great player. It's something that he does, and it's that little baby hook over Yoke that I'm just like,
he's hit a couple of those,
dude. It's 5-6 feet out from the rim, and all it takes for him is to like half turn and
he's got such good touch,
it.
man.
And it goes in, and it reminds me a lot of Yoke.
Yeah.
I mean, it must be the same infuriating feeling as when Yoke backs somebody down, and all he has to do is kind of huck it up there. He could throw it behind his head for all anybody cares and make it. But that was something that watching the game, he did it probably 5 or 6 times, but every time he did, I was like, man, there's that little baby hook again, man. Like it's always there. It's pissing me off. This is crap because Jokic is 6'11" or whatever, and it's like, dude, come on, man. Really?
That's a good one too. Honorable mention Ben Simmons, just because I don't know why, just because. All right, some final thoughts. Just to send you guys off. Thanks for listening to episode 7 of the Washed Kings podcast, playoff edition. I still think the Nuggets will solve what they need to. I actually think this game is going to go probably 7, so they're going to lose 2 more games. So expect to be angry at least 2 more times. But I feel really good about Jokic figuring the things out, and I think Jamal, once he starts to feel better, I think he's going to get Jokic off the hook a little bit, and it's going to make everybody's jobs feel and look a lot easier. Obviously, Kawhi and Harden can take over any game, but I'm hoping that Kawhi starts to miss more shots and that the Nuggets defense can figure out some things to slow him down and at least make him feel them. So I feel confident. Nuggets in 7 still. That's what I got. What do you guys think? Are the Nuggets going to win this series?
Yeah. Got Nuggets in 7. That was my prediction before the series. I think this is the most evenly matched up series of the first round on both conferences. And I think it's the most entertaining one so far around. So strap in.
Definitely.
I agree. I'm going to go off on a limb here. I'm going to say if the Nuggets win the first game in LA, it's going to be Nuggets in 6. If they lose the first game, we're looking at best case scenario Nuggets in 7.
I like that.
I think if they win the first one in LA, they've figured something out. And
we got to steal at least one.
And we do have to steal at least one in LA. But I think if you go, if you win the first one, I think the Nuggets figured something out, and I'm gonna take the high road on that one. But other than that, if we don't, or if we end up losing, going down 3-1, coming back to Denver, we're in a real mess. We're in a real bad mess. And the fact that this team, and we've nitpicked so much about this team, and up until this point, they haven't shown us our best. It was a real rocky, second half of the season or last quarter of the season. And we're still talking about the Nuggets going 7 in the first round of the playoffs. I think says a lot about what we've got. And
against maybe the second best team in the West, a lot of people are saying.
Yeah. But then obviously we still have Yoke.
We still got Yoke. We got to believe in that and bet on that, So we might do some react. Go ahead, Pat. Yeah.
If we do go down 3-1, it's familiar territory against the Clippers.
Too.
Good things.
We've been there too.
I'm just kidding. I
don't want that. I don't want that either.
Let's finish the show.
We might be doing some reaction shows. Maybe, I don't know yet. Thursday's game is at 8:00 Mountain Time, so I don't know if we're gonna do that then. Maybe Saturday night. They play at 4, I think, Mountain Time, so that's possible. But we'll keep y'all updated. Thanks for listening. That's going to do it for our today's show. Thanks for tuning in. You can find us on Instagram at the Washed Kings Pod, and that on TikTok at the Washed Kings. So, any shout outs? BK, TK, Greg, the fam. Shout out the fam.
Greg.
Shout out
Susan. Susan's one of our favorite.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you.
My mom.
Yep.
Cheers.
Shout out Matty for giving us the idea of going to the game on Monday. Matt, who's your shout out for?
The Avs are still
Okay.
up 1-0, 1-0, end of the second.
Come on, boys.
So,
Come on. Avs in
Avs.
6. That's my guess.
Avs in 6 against the Stars. Love it.
All right. We got game 3 tomorrow night and game 4 on Saturday. We appreciate y'all. Have a good night. Thanks for listening.
Cue the outro.